Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Morning Catch Up with ASSITEJ South Africa. I am not here alone, and as you know, my name is Tusi, and I am here with a very nice, also very important member of ASSITEJ South Africa. It is Awande Dube. And we're going to learn so much about Awande Dube in this morning catch-up. I hope you have your tea this morning because this is going to be a very exciting conversation. Please, everybody welcome Awande Dube. Hello, Awande. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks, Vincent. How are you? What an introduction. Oh, my word.
I know. I had to, right? I had to. I'm absolutely happy to have a conversation with you. You and I go a very long way back. But I'm excited for the audience to also just know who you are and also just the big plans that you have, not just by yourself, but also in collaboration with ASSITEJ. Please just start from the beginning. Who is Awande? Please tell our audience.
Well, Awande is a multidisciplinary artist, as I like to call myself these days. I am not just a director who works in a particular medium. I also work in film now. So I'm a director, I'm a writer, producer, administrator, lecturer at some point, and just an all-round storyteller, really. And my work with ASSITEJ thus far has been in the Directors International Exchange program that happens every 2 years for directors in theatre for young audiences. So a lot of the stories that I found myself telling because of my age, but also because of my preoccupation with the youth, happens to be in storytelling across mediums, but also theatre for young audiences. I hope that's a good start of an introduction.
Most definitely. Please tell us more about the director's cohort. What is that? How does it look like? And what was the experience like for you?
So the director's cohort looks like, first of all, someone being selected from each country, as many countries as they could get, from around the world, and all of us meeting in a central destination, which I think changes every call out, so every 2 years. And so the cohort that I was a part of, we had met in Marburg, Germany in 2023, which was last year. And so there was one director from every country. It was myself representing South Africa, another friend of mine, her nickname is Auntie Shine. She's from Nigeria, another now friend of mine from New Zealand, another friend as well from Australia, another from Germany, another from France, another from various parts of Europe, South America, America, and the like. So there was about, I think, 19 to 21 of us from each country. And we just met for like a couple of days and basically exchanged. So the only catch that I think threw everyone off at the beginning, which I think we were grateful for at the end, another colleague / friend of mine from Sweden was like, we were expecting to get here and like be taught about things and like receive workshops and masterclasses, but we quickly were just put into groups and told to just exchange. And at the beginning, something that was a daunting task actually became the most refreshing exchange that any of us could ever experience. So we ended up like sharing about our different practices, sharing about our expertise, our skills, our culture, our viewpoints, and basically learning from one another. So I hope that gives you a bit of an insight into what the exchange was and how fulfilling it was for all of us.
It sounds absolutely amazing. It sounds very impactful, and I think one of the kind of questions for me that I'm interested in is probably your kind of process. Like, what kind of themes then are you interested in, especially when it comes to working with children's theatre? What are those themes that really trigger you and that you want to kind of work within?
So as a theatre practitioner, director, maker, my specific, or rather my intrigues are more with exploring imagination, because I feel like it's important to hone in and to preserve the imagination of young audiences, children, and obviously up to the South Africa's definition of the youth. So I think honing in on imagination is just something that I find myself gravitating towards a lot. But with that being said, also not being afraid to tackle the somewhat hard-hitting issues within reason, of course, because I'm a big believer that just because you're working with children doesn't mean you necessarily need to keep it at a child-like level. You can definitely tackle issues pertaining to grief. You can tackle issues pertaining to even politics with a very young audience. It's just about your approach to it. And so I am big on creating a theatre that is reflective of the future that I'd like to see and the reality that I'd like to build. And what better way to start that process than to obviously work with children, with kids, with the youth, with teenagers, with people in their early 20s, and just shape spaces for conversation, spaces for question asking, spaces for engagement that is holistic and not just, I don't want to say superficial, but for lack of a better word, that is not just in the air. You know, we wanna work towards building. You know, so that's.
And I think therefore, I think that's why it was important for us to kind of have this conversation so that maybe we can start generating those ideas, because I'm sure Ukona, who's sitting at home right now, is listening to you, is getting inspired. But then the question would be the how, how then would that look like in a practical sense? Do you have any kind of suggestions in terms of that towards the collaboration then?
I think first and foremost, as a practitioner, as artists, we need to be open to this idea of collaboration, because especially with people my age, slightly younger and slightly older, I feel like a lot of people are trying to be an island, whereas working in community really is the best way to achieve anything. I just shot a film now that I couldn't have done without collaborating with people that I know, who could then connect me to people that I don't know. So the first things first is, let's get the community going. Let's build a culture of collaboration, because when I succeed, we all succeed. When you succeed, we all succeed, as opposed to wanting to be at the forefront. The second thing to that is not being afraid to take note of what's happening in the society. So depending on what your field of interest is, for me, the main driver of my stories is the commentary that I'm making on certain patterns that I see in society, whether from the perspective of a child or from an adult or from someone who's in between the two. I think don't be afraid to get your voice heard. If you feel like there's an issue, or if you've noticed a pattern or a mode of behavior that's happening in society that you'd like to address because maybe it bothers you, or maybe you want to celebrate it, then the next thing is to get into your writer's room, get on that pen, or speak to other artists that could help you flesh out those ideas, and then you take it from there. You have an idea, you workshop it, you get into a rehearsal room, and before you know it, you've got a solid framework that you can at least take and start showing. Because another thing is, people are also waiting to have all the funds. Sometimes you don't have all the funds. My first ever play that I directed, it was just me and this one actor. And we said, you know what, we were still students at the time. We have a rehearsal room. Let's just rehearse. And at some point, a theater is going to open up to us. And at some point that eventually happened. And by then we had a play ready. It wasn't fully finished, but we had something. Other concepts that I've developed are fully developed on a zero budget. I'm not saying that the arts don't need to be funded, but at some point you need to say, okay, money or not, full team or not, I've got a few people who are with me on the same page. Let's go, let's rehearse, let's make, and things will fall to place along the way.
You are definitely a sound of reason. I really I'm getting inspired just by your conversation and by the passion that you have.
Thank you so much.
And definitely. And I think that most other young practitioners who are also kind of with that fire in them are also asking the how. And therefore, those conversations, I think, is very, very important. So then in terms of children and children's theatre, at ASSITEJ, They have this big network of organizations and this big body of children and schools and organizations that they work with.
Right.
And I think therefore the important thing is for individuals like you or members like you to then come forth and say, this is what I want to do, or these are the kind of ideas I
100%.
have. Yeah, and I think therefore that's where the collaboration then starts to begin, because as I said, because there's such a big pool, obviously they can't be talking to every single person, and I know that they are always open to those ideas. And what then other projects? I mean, you mentioned that you're working in TV, you're working in film, you've just shot a film. Maybe tell us a little bit more about those, and how we can also get access to them.
Well, currently, as I said, I just shot a film, and I think it'll be having its first screening sometime in October. So I will definitely share those details with you to then share with the listeners and the members of ASSITEJ. So yeah, that's happening in October. Apart from that, I've been lecturing at the Market Lab, voice and performance, adverts as well, voice and performance. So I've pretty much been putting my heart for the youth into action, but more from an educational or pedagogic perspective. I don't know how it happened, but it's definitely become a huge part of me, which I'm not shying away from. So if you're not catching me at a screening or making my next play, you'll catch me in a lecture room. Just making sure that I empower the youth to think critically and to really just, think differently about the South Africa that they want to participate in creating or not. Correct. Because, we come from different backgrounds and perspectives.
Correct. And in terms of then access to, let's say, the work you do, how would that look like? Would it be a workshop that Awande then arranges or travels to schools? How would that, in terms of the access to the work that you do, become,
being shared?
Yeah.
Well, I would most definitely love to give workshops to any and all schools in the surrounding areas of Joburg, Gauteng, and even in other provinces, should that be something that can be done. I am 100% ready to do that kind of work. I've got quite a bit of experience now, and I've actually shaped a couple of courses and workshops that make sense. So it is definitely something that I could do. I think, if anything, maybe this is the thing that I come to ASSITEJ with, because like you said, the community that is ASSITEJ is ready and willing to do that. And so it's a matter of, like you said, even if it was outside of this conversation, just putting my hand up and saying, okay, let me approach the people that I know are there and just see what they say. Let me approach the institutions that are there and see what kind of support I can get. And so if that's something that ASSITEJ is willing to do, I am more than happy to make a schedule and to go on some kind of workshop tour of sorts, just to impart the skills, the knowledge, the heart of imagination, theatre making, playmaking, and storytelling to children and teenagers and the likes.
And I think that is lovely, and I think that's very important. And I also do think it's possible. I think you taking the first step to say, hey, what can I do? It's now then a conversation that obviously you need to have with ASSITEJ, and then that then becomes a practical thing to say, this is the dates, these are the schedules, this is how we're going to do it, the methodology of it. And that's why I'm encouraging everybody who's listening right now to actually take that initiative, take the action. I feel like as artists, especially young practitioners, we always are waiting for that big opportunity. You're waiting for the big call, you're waiting for the proposal, you're waiting for the company to call you and say, hey, we need you. But this right now that you are doing, I'm saying, hey, I want to work with you, is very inspiring. And I think that is where South Africa is lacking, especially when it comes to children's theatre.
Yeah, especially because we think with all the funding that goes into it, the casting, the process, the rehearsals, where we're going to tour, how we're going to get there, there's a lot that happens in the artist's mind that kind of stifles that process. So
Great.
hopefully those listening can be encouraged to say that if you've got some stories to tell, definitely ask somebody. Someone is bound to lead you to someone else, even if
Yeah.
they can't help you.
Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. I'm absolutely excited, Awande, for you. I'm excited for the
Thank
work
you
that you're
so
still going to
much.
do. I'm excited for this
Thank you so
collaboration
much.
that you are starting now with ASSITEJ South Africa. And I can't wait
Mm,
to also be
mm.
involved in it. I love being around people
Yes.
who are like-minded, who are progressive, and who are just forward thinking. I think that is what we are
Fantastic. I
stepping
can't
into.
wait.
Yeah, and I also
Yeah,
can't wait
fully.
as well. What other
Mm.
then maybe last conclusions would you maybe tell us maybe about the work that you still want to do, or also maybe some encouragement for those students that are actually maybe at market theatre right now who are listening to this in the moment
Mm.
and this in this morning. How would you then encourage them?
I think the encouragement that I would have is don't let people define you. You are well within your rights to define yourself. Even if somebody tells you that you will never amount to what it is that you are striving for, please tune those voices out. We spend too much time wanting to shape ourselves to how people think we should be, and not enough time crafting who we really want to be. And so, whether you want to be an actor, whether you want to be a director, a writer, the next big shot producer, and however many years, continue striving for that. You are bound to meet like-minded people, just like I have now through having this conversation with you, Finch.
Yes.
You are bound to meet like-minded people who will join with you, and you'll band together and eventually get to where it is that you want. But also allow yourself to be adaptable and malleable to the shape that the journey itself wants to take. Because sometimes we get so confined to, we have to be like this, we want to be like that, it must happen in 5 years, it must happen in 1 second, that we slow ourselves down in terms of opening ourselves up to opportunities that could lead us a different way to the same destination. There's many ways to get to Cape Town, but sometimes we get stuck on the N1 and there's other routes that could be taken. You'll still get there, just be open to the changes. And a last note, your passion will guide you, your heart will guide you. Someone is bound to connect to the truth of who you are and the stories that you want to tell. Your stories are valid. You being different and the odd one out is 100% valid, and it shouldn't be a means for you to feel shy. We can't all be the same. It would be a boring world if we all were. So hold on to your uniqueness, hold on to your identity, hold on to your beliefs, hold on to everything that makes you who you are, and stand by it. Stand by it, even if they're like, listen, if you just change this one thing, don't. Be who you are, continue, and keep going, because we need a you in the world. There will never be another you after this. So, yeah.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Awande Dube. She's a progressive thinker. She is a forward thinker, a believer, an action taker, a trendsetter. And that is what we are looking for. Not only is that what she does, she's also a practitioner, director, and also a member of ASSITEJ South Africa. Thank you so much for this conversation, Awande. Ngiyabonga kakhulu for even giving us your time. And I know how busy you are, but I'm really, really appreciating. And I know that whoever, even if it's one person who hears this conversation, that is the impact that we are looking for.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Finch. I really appreciate being given the opportunity and the platform to speak. I don't take it for granted. And I'm really, really, really excited for the future.
We're excited for the future as well. That was the morning catch up. It is Members Monday. You are still listening to ASSITEJ South Africa. That was Awande Dube. Do not forget that name. Awande, how do we get involved with you? Do you have a Facebook handle, Instagram handle? How do people contact you if they want to do that?
You can definitely find me on Instagram at @sheisawande. You can also find me on Facebook at Awande Dube. And then the rest, I suppose, is my email address if anybody wants to speak more seriously. That's my name dot my surname at icloud.com. So that's awande.dube at icloud.com if anybody wants to talk on those terms.
Amazing stuff. I hope you have a fantastic week, fantastic weekend. And then obviously we're going to chat soon and we make
For
these
sure.
things happen. Let the pot start potting.
I can't wait. Let's make the pots to be done. Thanks so much.
Thank you again.
All right. Thank you.